Welcome back, everyone, to part two with Shah, on life without limits, because there are no limits to what you can achieve. You will really like this next part. We are going to talk about relationships in business. Sejual is an EFT trainer of trainers, not just an advanced practitioner, but she's the highest you can go in the EFT world, plus being a barrister, which is the UK equivalent of an attorney in the US. I'm learning all new words today. This is so exciting. Sejual, welcome back to Life Without Limits. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
So let's talk about relationships in business and how EFT, and if you so choose to discuss business energetics, how that can help with business relationships.
Okay, so here's the main idea I want to share. When we think of growing our businesses or our careers, we can be caught up in a lot of action. And
Sejual, tell us how we can use EFT and business energetics in relationships and business. What is that all about?
so relationships are so fundamental to how we are in business. It always fascinates me how when someone comes looking at an aspect of their business or career growth, and they're very much aware of they need to take action, they want to do certain strategies. I remember a client I had where they were in professional services, delivery of professional services, and they had a huge amount of action steps to take, to the point where they would itemize their list and they would sort of have a tick off list for every week, and I was working with them weekly. And that action drive is fantastic. It's very motivational. It's very energizing. We move forward. So we can strategize, plan, and be aware of all the things we have to do. But if we do not have a good relationship with the other human being we wish to engage with in our work, if we do not have a good relationship with the concept of marketing or the energy of money, or if we are uncomfortable in our relationship with managing an interaction with sales or our clients, all of these things are our relationships with parts of our business. And if we don't tend to those, no matter how much action you take, you're going to be stymied. So going back to this client, very action-oriented, very capable, but even before they came to work with me. And then what we did was we identified aspects of shame and guilt that were tripping him up in his behavior. So he knew he had to make a certain number of sales calls every day in order to generate new business. But those emotions were holding him back. And that was the relationship he had historically with other clients in the past, where he perceived failings on his part. So we dealt with those historical relationships, EFT, and then we actually looked at his relationship with his clients, or his relationship with doing some very complex sales strategies. And as we actually brought much more kindness, peace, and a sense of fulfillment and achievement into his relationship with those things, it just flowed and it flowed. There was a sort of stunning interaction once that he recounted in a session where he had made a mistake. And so he went to deliver the paperwork and explain the mistake to the client. And it turned out that the client was just not fazed by it, was sympathetic, and was not worried by it. And he tried to rectify the mistake, and even that was not a problem.
Wow.
So, and it was quite a serious thing for him. It wouldn't have affected his professional standing. He could have continued in business, but in terms of what he wanted to do, he was just astonished at how easy it was. So ease is one of my favorite words in business. You know, it's an underused word, but if things are easy in a relationship, we then bring that energy and we perpetuate it. So he found that it was just a turnaround when we started looking at the energy of relationships in his business.
How fantastic. Needless to say, most people don't think of their energy in relationships in business, because how many times have we had difficult interactions with people, or the boss or our supervisor or boss, someone else in our coworker, our peer, a client, whoever it might be. If there's a difficult situation, how do you get through it?
Completely.
With EFT, of course.
Completely. I had a client recently who was overlooked in a promotion, and it was devastating for him. And there was a very strong energy of betrayal. And then they brought it to session for us to look at. And obviously we dealt with the energy of betrayal, of distress, just around the event that had happened. And then intuitively, I asked him about what his parents had gone through, and was there any experience of betrayal in their working lives. And he'd not thought about this, but he could then tell me about very specific interactions for both parents in their careers where they had faced betrayal in the workplace and they had the ground pulled beneath them. And we dealt with those and using EFT. And it was just incredible what happened next. He had aired his grievances with his employer, and the employer was unaware of quite the dynamics, but they started having frank conversations about what was going on. And the net result was, particularly after we dealt with the last bit of betrayal, the historical family betrayal, the boss turned around and gave my client a 30% pay rise and a role that was comparable with the one that had
Oh, wow.
he'd been leapfrogged over for. And that was wow.
Yes.
So this is kind of the practical result. This isn't, we can talk about emotions and some people say, well, what's the net benefit? And I'm all about tangible benefit. Because if we aren't delivering, then it's not actually honoring what the person has come looking for. They've come looking for peace and relief from the inner turmoil, but there has to be an outer change. And my own experience is when we deal with the inner turmoil and release that, the outer world does change, and it changes quite easily. So that's the kind of response to why deal with emotions and why deal with our reaction to relationships. It actually gives a very practical, tangible benefit in the outer world.
I love how you're explaining this, Sejual, because what people don't understand sometimes is every emotion is energy. Whether you're down at the bottom of the scale, and folks, when you browse her website, you will see the ladder of emotions. So whether you're down at the bottom feeling the depression, anxiety, and then you start working your way up the ladder of emotions, anger, guilt, every emotion that you feel has energy to it. As you shift the energy of your emotion, not only do you feel the peace, calm, and groundedness, but just as Sejual is explaining, then your choices, your perception changes, your plan changes, your choices change, and the outcome changes. Yes, it's amazing.
It's profound, and I highlight the practical benefits, but if I'm honest, the inner benefits are what my clients tell me they value the most.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's
Yes.
something about that profound level of peace when our mindset has been in turmoil, and not to carry that.
Mm-hmm.
I know of people who expect that to be the norm. And then when that is taken away, the astonishment at not having to bear that burden,
Yes.
that is priceless.
And then what I have learned through my studies with emotional freedom techniques, there is always a historical component to it, whether it's our own childhood or whether it's an ancestral trauma, ancestral lineage. There's always a reason for this. So it's our job as EFT practitioners to help our clients find the core reason for these emotions. And that the work is so exciting to me. I tell everybody the minute part of me that's a scientist, I want to find out how this started in the first place. People will say, well, I don't know. I said, well, we can find out. Just bear with me and I'll explain all this, even if you don't have a specific memory. I've been working with a client now for 3 years on anxiety. The other day, she came in and said, oh, I just realized the other day that da 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 happened. And I went, oh my goodness, that is so significant. And then she says, and other memories are popping up. I said, write them all down, even if you want to type them to me and send them as an email, but write them down. We're going to start tapping on all these one at a time to see
Yes.
what happens.
Yes.
But now the doors are opening. So enough tapping and things, when they're ready, they will come to the surface and you will have those memories. Oh, and then in business, how wonderful that we can shift our relationships with our clients, with our peers, with our bosses. It's just incredible.
This is how we actually deliver the kind of change that so many people are asking for. Change in the workplace.
Yes.
And it's not something that is airy-fairy. It's actually got a huge amount of groundedness to it. And this is what the generations coming through are seeking. I see it in the 20, 30 somethings who I work with, and they will not tolerate the long hours culture that their parents or grandparents had. They are asking for a difference in a kind of workplace where there is tangible reward for the company and for the individual. The work has some merit or meaning, but also the workforce is carried in a way that is filled with integrity and respect for individuals.
Wow.
And those,
Fantastic.
they are the drivers for that kind of change because they're asking for it. And
Yes.
unless someone's or a group of people start saying, actually, things have got to change. If you look at the number of young professionals, lawyers, accountants, who kind of, they get through their certification, they qualify, they'll do the first few years of professional practice in very pressurized environments. And then it's not that they're burning out, it's they're going, we're not going to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll go off into either startups where there's a more innovative culture, or they will go into small businesses where their skills are very much required, but they have a lot more flexibility. I see this time and again with young professionals in and around London. I'm in a commuter city that feeds into London. And part of my practice are those young professionals who are going, well, we see what we need to do to get our qualification. But really, coming back to the theme of our topic, it's about the relationship I have with my colleagues, with my workplace, with my sanity as much as anything.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why, in my experience, relationships are key to business. If you get that right, you're going to have teams that are naturally motivated. You don't have to pump
Yes.
them up. Yeah.
Teams that are naturally motivated. Yes, at that. When teams are naturally motivated, when leaders listen, that is the essence of a great leader and the company. Oh my goodness. Although I support entrepreneurs and small businesses by all means, but if I know that the top of the pyramid, there is someone that really cares about their talent, I'm far more likely to want to buy that product than a company that could care less. I'm so
Completely.
out of there. Sejual, this has been inspiring as usual. And folks, one more time, we are coming back. But before we do, hold that thought, everybody, because I'm sharing. I want everybody to know about Sejual's website. I'm going to feature this every single time. Here we go. I love being. So, folks, healthy in mind. It's healthyinmind.com to contact Sejual. And believe me, I have contacted her already myself. She is incredible. So I am going to thank everyone right now for listening and watching. Come back one more time. Sejual, our third topic is presence, how to be present with your client or in business, and how EFT helps that. All right, everyone, we will see you shortly in part 3. Stay tuned. And please, if this is helpful, subscribe to my podcast. Pass this on to those that you think this might be helpful for. And please rate this in iTunes, because the more ratings I have, the more people that listen. The more people that listen, the more people will get this information. So thank you all so much for listening and watching. And remember, there are no limits to what you can achieve.